Hello and welcome to the Closed Pyramid, a podcast and YouTube episode where we talk all things lower league soccer here in the United States of America. So today is our USL Championship preview. So we're going to be previewing the USL Championship, which kicks off this Saturday, March 11th. 2023. Now, I'm recording this ahead of time because I am going on vacation, so I'm not going to have time to record this in the middle of the week. So I am actually recording this the weekend before. So if anything schedule-wise changes due to weather or anything like that for USL Championship, then it's probably going to be wrong. But I wanted to get this done and be able to schedule it for while I'm out because I think that this is a good topic to talk about. It's not just going to be looking at each team, which, we'll look at the teams, we'll look and see how they finished last year, what they need to improve on, but also just the growth of the USL Championship as a whole, because they did have some actual big news this week, and that is that the USL Championship is going to be on ESPN and ESPN Plus. And this includes USL League One matches as well. So this is every single game. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. But they also shared a broadcast schedule for ESPN2, which is going to be showing some 2023 USL games. So if we look at it here, we have the first game that's going to be on national TV is May 13th, so 2 months after the season kicks off. At 7 o'clock Eastern time, it's Louisville versus Miami. We'll talk more about Miami in a little bit as well. Phoenix Rising hosts Memphis on July 1st. That's at 11 p.m. Eastern time. That's on ESPN2. All these are going to be on ESPN2. So Monterey Bay Union hosting Oakland Roots at 10 o'clock on July 15th. So only 2 weeks after that July 1st game, we're going to get another game. And then only 4 days after that Union Oakland Roots game, we're getting Detroit City FC versus Louisville City on July 19th at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Then they take a little bit of a break until August 9th, where they're going to show the Switchbacks versus Tulsa at 9 o'clock. Then we have August 16th, so about a week later at 9 o'clock Eastern, we have San Antonio and the Rio Grande Valley Toros. That is on August 16th at 9 o'clock. And then on August 19th, 3 days after that, we have San Diego Loyal and New Mexico United on August 19th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Then there's no nationally broadcast games from then on, unless they decide to change stuff, until USL League One final at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on November 5th. And then the USL Championship final a week later on November 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. All those games on ESPN2. Otherwise, all of the rest of the USL Championship and USL League One matches will be on ESPN Plus. And this is the 8th season that ESPN is USL's exclusive national media partner. What I want to point out here is that Miami, a few weeks before this broke, I think it was February 17th, according to this article, released a release that was Miami FC. Miami FC has agreed to a broadcast deal with local television station CBS Miami for the 2023 USL Championship season. Miami's FC's home and away matches will be aired on TV 33 and simulcast on CBSMiami.com. CBS Miami is the local broadcast station of the National Football League Miami Dolphins. Why is this huge? Everyone knows, if you've watched our MLS coverage and the rest of our normal episodes that we produce, that we are really big fans of the Apple TV and Apple Season Pass thing with the no blackouts, all that great stuff. Well, what I wanted to point out with this as well is that with that leaves an opening. right? It leaves an opening for some of these USL Championship teams to maybe break into their market a little bit more. So I'm a Philadelphia Union fan, but I'm not in the Philadelphia area. So for me, I was always watching these games on ESPN Plus, unless if they were for some reason blacked out, like if they're facing DC United, because I'm in the technical DC United area, and then I'd have to watch it on NBC Sports Washington. Well, there is a lot of fans on Twitter that are Philadelphia Union fans and on Reddit and other social media platforms that may not have wanted to pay the $80, $100, whatever it is for MLS season pass. For me, it's $80 because I'm already an Apple TV Plus subscriber. And some of them feel like maybe they're going to lose their connection to the team. Now, for a lot of these games, there are a lot of free games on Apple TV. All you have to do is download the app. You don't even have to be an Apple TV Plus subscriber. And you're able to watch, like 6 games a week. Your team may not be in it. Well, for ESPN Plus, it's now, $10 a month? But if you have the Disney bundle, it's essentially free. Like I have the Disney bundle now, so I get Disney Plus and Hulu Live TV and Hulu No Ads and ESPN Plus for cheaper than my YouTube TV and having all of these things, which is why I partly switched from YouTube TV to Hulu Live TV. And, I have problems with Hulu Live TV. It buffers, I think, a lot more than YouTube TV, and I think there's more quality issues that I have with it. Harder to navigate, I think, than YouTube TV. But ultimately, the price won, right? And for a lot of people, the price will always win, meaning that if it's free or if it is almost essentially free, if you're already in the Disney bundle, ESPN Plus is free. You can get a deal that's Hulu. If you don't even want to do Hulu Live TV, just Hulu with no ads and Disney Plus with no ads, that's $20. Each one of those is about $10 each. And then you're adding in ESPN Plus for free with that then. So it's essentially free. Now, if you're just subscribing for ESPN Plus, $10 a month is cheaper than the $15 a month for MLS. But you're also going to be getting things like the Bundesliga and La Liga. So some people think it is a better deal and works better with their budget. And I don't fault anyone for that. I don't. For me, I think it made sense. $80 for every single MLS game with no blackouts made a lot of sense. Now, here's where USL and some of these USL teams can really break in. I'm not sure what channel Inter Miami was on before. I could probably look that up. But let's say Miami FC is essentially taking that spot. Maybe they were on CBS, or maybe they were on like MyTV, something like that. And Miami FC now gets into that, and they're on local over-the-air TV. Well, while they don't have the flash and the star power that Inter Miami has, I think you're going to get some of the casuals that don't know the difference between MLS and USL. You're probably going to get some of the people that think Inter Miami CF is the same thing as Miami FC. And it's going to be more accessible. If it's able to just be on your over-the-air, you're going to have people that flip on Miami FC and they're going to grow attachment to that instead of Inter Miami. That's the risk MLS faces, and some of these clubs that have teams in USL and in MLS face. But it's always good if some of these lower league teams can get in on TV deals in their local area and make some headway in their market, more than just attendance. Getting on the national landscape, getting in your local market landscape first is essential if you want to try to break into the national landscape. And what I think this does, right, like I said, is it leaves an opening for some of these games. Miami has grabbed that opening. Their games are on ESPN Plus for people that are outside of Miami, and I assume they'll be blacked out in Miami on ESPN Plus, but if you're in Miami and you have an antenna, you're most likely going to be able to watch it, or, like it says, simulcast on cbsmiami.com. Now, I don't know if you have to, authenticate with cable or if it's going to be free on there. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. But the fact that this is going to be on the same channel that people watch Miami Dolphin games on, I think will help, because you might see commercials during there. You might see commercials while they're just watching normal TV. That's one thing we're losing in MLS with the Apple TV is I don't think there's that many commercials I've seen so far on normal TV that says, hey, Apple TV has MLS Season Pass. Now, I have been happy to see Metro Mobile and I think some of those other ones that are giving it away for free have had commercials with people in soccer jerseys being excited that they're able to watch MLS Season Pass for free on T-Mobile and Metro PCS. So in this way, I think it's a win-win for everyone. I think Miami residents are going to get a win because they're going to get local Miami FC games. I think nationally, we're all happy that we're going to be able to see USL League 1 and USL Championship on ESPN+. But I also think that MLS wins by getting some of those T-Mobile people for free. It just, they might lose out on some of that local market. Now, the good thing is there's no blackout, so people in Miami that are diehards will buy the season pass or watch free games on Apple TV. And what else was just announced is that the Apple, if you have Apple TV Plus, you get the Whip Around show for free. That's every week. You're going to get the Whip Around MLS 360. So it is letting some of these people in and just talking about the general landscape of soccer, kind of to start off the show of how we're situating this USL Championship season as we head into, the first week of the season here. What's USL's future? So I think the fact that they got on ESPN is great. I think one of the issues I have with this ESPN2 thing is that most of these games are in the summer, probably when they don't have as much stuff to air anyway, and then a huge gap from August 19th to the championship on November 12th. So if you're following along and you want to watch the playoffs, you're going to need ESPN Plus. But now that what this also does is ESPN has dropped out of any sort of MLS coverage. So they now only have, some tournaments, and I guess USL, Bundesliga, and La Liga, because Serie A left ESPN to go to Paramount. So they will have soccer still. That's great. Fox is now the exclusive on-air MLS provider. So now, if people were used to watching MLS on ESPN at all and they flip on USL might gain some viewers from that. I don't expect this to be a huge boost because USL has been on ESPN before. But what I like about this is now that ESPN doesn't have MLS, they have more resources to devote to USL. And what I mean by that is more airtime. Maybe on some of these summer nights that they were going to be playing, Detroit and Louisville this year would have been a Seattle-Portland game last year. So what this does is it opens up a little bit of room here for the schedule to open up for some of these USL games. And I think if they do well, I think they might give more of these nationally broadcast games on ESPN too. I don't know if that's true, but I would think that would be the case if it performs well. What I also like is, I'm not sure if this was before as well, is that the USL 1 final is on ESPN2. I think that one was always on just ESPN Plus. But the fact that we're even getting our third division championship on national broadcast TV is a huge deal when we never were used to even getting some of these games on before. So the fact that I think this is helping. I think this is growing the game. I think this will be a lot of fun to see how it all shakes out. Now, what we're going to do when we start off talking about the USL season for 2023 is looking back at the 2022 season. So some of these clubs have left, have left the league. There are some teams that are on hiatus or have left to League One or etc. So last year, from 2021 to 2022, so there was a big change. So Detroit City came over from Nisa last year. They were a big club in Nisa. They were a winning team. It felt like they never even really had that much competition in Nisa. So they make the move. That's great for Detroit City. Monterey Bay gets expanded as well. Also, into 2022, there was a few clubs on hiatus. Austin Bold FC, which is now moving to Fort Worth and is supposed to launch in 2024. OK Energy FC, no viable venue, it says here, and will return no later than 2026. So we're not really sure what the status of those clubs are. But last year saw 27 teams participate. They lost a few clubs to go to MLS Next Pro, like Real Monarchs, Sporting Kansas City 2, Tacoma Defiance. Those clubs have left to go to MLS Next Pro, which those games are also going to be on Apple. I just don't know how big that's going to work. But that was last year. Those clubs left last year. We had 27 teams, which was down, I think, from 30 in 2021. So the clubs that we had playing last year: Atlanta United 2, Birmingham Legion, Charleston Battery, Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Detroit City, FC Tulsa, El Paso Locomotive FC, Hartford Athletic, Indy 11, LA Galaxy 2, Las Vegas Lights FC, Loudoun United FC, Louisville City FC, Memphis 901 FC, Miami FC, Monterey Bay, New Mexico United, New York Red Bulls 2, Oakland Roots SC, Orange County SC, Phoenix Rising, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Rio Grande Valley Toros, Sacramento Republic, San Antonio, San Diego Loyal, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Probably the most historic club out of all of these that I just named are the Rowdies. So that's where they were at last year. That's how many clubs participated. 7 teams got into the playoffs in each conference out of 14 in the East and 13 in the West. So pretty typical to what MLS was doing last year as well. In the Eastern Conference, we finished, this is how it finished last year. With 72 points, Louisville City FC. They went right to the conference semifinals. Memphis 901 finished second, and then 68 points. 67 points was the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Fourth place, Birmingham Legion with 58 points. Huge 9-point drop from third to fourth. In fifth place, Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC at 57 points. In sixth place, Miami FC with 55 points. And Detroit City FC finished the playoff spots with 54 points. Below that, another 8-point drop is FC Tulsa, Indy 11, Hartford Athletic, Loudoun United, Charleston Battery, Atlanta United 2, and Red Bulls 2 finish outside of the playoff spots. New York Red Bulls 2, by the way, really bad last year. 34 games played, 15 points. That is obviously less than, half a point per game. They had 3 wins, 25 losses, and only 6 draws. They scored 24 goals to 76 that they let up. Not great for the Red Bulls, too. Atlanta United gave up 85 goals, by the way, and Charleston Battery gave up 77. But they still had way more wins and ties than New York Red Bulls. Over in the West, San Antonio FC got first place, 77 points. A huge 17-point drop to second place in the West. San Diego Loyal SC. Colorado Springs Switchbacks have 55 points in third place. Sac Republic, 53 points in fourth. New Mexico United, fifth place, 51 points. Rio Grande Valley Toros, 49 points, and they finished 6th. Oakland Roots finished 7th with 46 points. A team that was tied on points with Oakland Roots was El Paso Locomotive FC with 46. They missed out on the playoffs. Las Vegas Lights FC finished with 45 points and outside of the playoff spots. Then Phoenix, LA Galaxy 2, Monterey Bay, and Orange County SC. Orange County SC, by the way, in the West, bottom, they had 34 points. That is more than double the last place of the East. And actually, the last place in the West would have been good enough to finish 11th in the East. So I feel like that's kind of typical for some reason in these sports that we get, in this sport anyway, where we have the Western Conference always being kind of like the stronger conference for whatever reason that is. So the way that the playoffs shook out is the Riverhounds beat Birmingham Legion in the conference quarterfinals. Memphis beat Detroit. Tampa Bay Rowdies beat Miami. And that was the East. Over in the West, the Roots beat San Diego Loyal 3-0. Switchbacks beat Rio Grande 3-0. And Sac Republic beat New Mexico 2-0. In the conference semifinals, Louisville won on penalties over the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Memphis lost to the Tampa Bay Rowdies in the conference semifinals. San Antonio beat the Roots 3-0. And Colorado Springs Switchbacks went to extra time, but won it in extra time before penalties 2-1 over the Sac Republic. That takes us to the conference finals. Louisville City FC beat Tampa Bay Rowdies 1-0 in extra time, and San Antonio beat the Colorado Springs Switchbacks 2-0, leading us to the final. Louisville City FC, the best team in the East, against San Antonio, the best team in the West. And San Antonio, the best team in the league, 77 points. Louisville had 72. Each of them got that bye, and they made it through. Now, Louisville had a little bit more of a struggle, right? They go to penalties against Pittsburgh. They go extra time against the Rowdies. And then you have San Antonio 3-0 over Oakland, 2-0 over Colorado, just breezing through. And in that final match, San Antonio, which was on ESPN2 and Sirius XM-FC, I remember watching it. It was a fun game, but San Antonio just absolutely dominated the game. It was 3-0 until the 78th minute when Louisville pulled one back through Ownby. But you had Patino score a 45+3 penalty. You had Adeniran scoring 64th minute goal. And then in the 70th minute, Patino scored again. There you go. Attendance 8,534 in San Antonio, Texas. Santiago Patino was the championship MVP. And he had 5 goals throughout the whole playoffs. So great job leading them to victory, and really just what was a dominating performance from San Antonio FC last season. Like I said, best team in the league. They had such a huge gap over any of the other Western teams. Like I said, 17-point gap. San Diego Loyal had 60 points in second place to San Antonio's 77. The gap in the East was a lot shorter, 72 and 68. Only a 4-point gap there. So San Antonio just ran away with it all season, and they ran away with it in the playoffs. And it's going to be really curious to see how this team shakes out going into the new year. It was a sellout game, it looks like, because their Toyota field only fits 8,296 people. They've been around since 2016, San Antonio. And San Antonio is not far from Austin, right? So that, when you now have a big league club too in MLS, that's a pretty big deal to have that going. But as their current roster looks, they have going into the season, it looks like there is no more Santiago Patino. Looks like he has left the club going into the club. Now it says he's still on there. It says he's still on there on Wikipedia, but on the other thing I said, it looks like he is gone. So let me check. He was drafted by Orlando City, by the way, back in 2019. And then I guess he was on loan until 2020 and then made the move to San Antonio as a free agent. But I don't know. I don't see him. He's only 25 years old. I don't know if he left or not. Let's take a look, because one website says he's no longer on the club and the other one says he is. MLSsoccer.com says he's loaned out still. The magic of not knowing where a player is currently playing. Okay, so FB Ref still says he's at San Antonio. The Wikipedia I don't see has him listed at all on their current roster as of February 24th. So that's odd. Maybe I should check their website. Look, so this is one of the bad things about just lower league soccer as well. If I'm just going to kind of riff here, I guess, while I'm researching, is that it's really hard sometimes to find information about players that play for clubs, and that's not great. As well, I was trying to find like pictures of some of these players to make our little intro, like our picture for the uh, YouTube thumbnail and stuff, and some of these players. Okay. So on the website it does have Santiago Patino listed on the 2023 roster. Okay, so USL's website says he is there. Wikipedia doesn't have it updated. Good to know. But anyway, so he is back going into the next season, which is a huge deal after how well he played for the club. And yeah, so I mean, it is a huge deal. This is a club that has kind of gotten better every season. So 2016, San Antonio it was their first year, no playoffs. Okay. Next year, so they finished 17th. Next year in the Western Conference, they finished second and they made it to the conference semifinals. Then in 2018, 2019, they hit a downturn and did not qualify for the playoffs. But then we had in 2020, then bounce back. They get to the conference quarterfinals. 2021, they reached the conference final. And then in 2022, first in the West, first overall, and winners of the Cup. So a pretty big deal on how well they've been able to kind of get going here after kind of a promising start 2017, from a finishing 17th overall and 10th in the West to second in the West and third overall, and getting to a conference semifinal, getting to the third round of the US Open Cup, and then drop in 2018, 2019, and then in the post-COVID world, turning back up again. Right? So that's good. I mean, their regular average attendance is like about 5,000 last year, almost 6,000. While the playoffs, obviously, they sold out. It seems like every game. So that's pretty good for San Antonio. So just kind of seeing how should we expect them to continue if they're keeping a lot of their players going forward. I think that they should be just as strong. I mean, look, this was a club that finished, again, 17 points ahead of any sort of other Western Conference team. So I feel pretty good if I'm a San Antonio FC fan going into next season. And talking about next season, let's go ahead and preview and look at what should be coming next, because we actually have 3 less teams this year as well. So last year was 27 teams, down from 30. This year is 24 teams. And teams that joined MLS Next Pro, if you were going to guess, would have been the MLS affiliates. Atlanta United 2, LA Galaxy 2, and New York Red Bulls 2 are moving on from USL Championship to MLS Next Pro. I think that's good for the USL Championship, that they don't have a lot of second teams in the league anymore. Because I think sometimes if you're a fan of, let's say you're a diehard fan of the Charleston Battery, and you see them playing LA Galaxy 2, you're really I don't know. I always hate those names anyway, honestly. It's like when you're playing, if you go to a minor league baseball game, and we have one near me called the Aberdeen Ironbirds. Oriole affiliate. Ironbirds because they're owned by Cal Ripken. He was the Iron Man. Ironbird is also an airplane. Boom, boom, boom. Their logo used to be an airplane. But they would be playing against this like Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yankees, right? And you're like, okay, you couldn't think of anything else to name them than just Yankees. Like you couldn't do even like the Yankee Doodles. I don't know. I mean, like changing it up to something different. I always hate minor league baseball teams that have the same exact name as their parent club, and the same thing with some of these MLS Next Pro. I hope that whenever MLS Next Pro kicks off, some of these teams, like the Sounders, used to have Sounders too, and now it's Tacoma Defiance. Like, let's keep with some of these names, because I'm sure when you're like a Hartford Athletic fan and you're going to see, you're like, why do I care if I'm facing a New York Red Bull 2 and they're not taking it seriously and they finish with 15 points on the season? That is a frustrating thing, I think, when you're like, this club doesn't even take it, doesn't even take it seriously. Well, now there's no like actual clubs in USL that are named 2 or, second or anything like that. What we have going into the season is Birmingham Legion, Charleston Battery, Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Detroit City, FC Tulsa, El Paso Locomotive, Hartford Athletic, Indy 11, Las Vegas Lights, Loudoun United, Louisville City, Memphis 901, Miami, Monterey Bay, New Mexico, Oakland Roots, Orange County, Phoenix Rising, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Rio Grande Valley, FC Toros, Sacramento Republic, San Antonio FC, and San Diego Loyal, and Tampa Bay Rowdies. And something that's different than the rest of the MLS clubs are that there is no league-wide kit manufacturer. So what you're going to see is things like Las Vegas has Meba. Never really heard of them. They're from Barcelona, apparently. You have Loudoun and Louisville have like Adidas, and Colorado Springs has Capelli. Charleston have Hummel. Miami has Macron. San Antonio has Puma. San Diego has Charlie. Never heard of them. But the good thing is a lot of these clubs actually have kit sponsors. Birmingham Legion have Coca-Cola. That's huge for USL Championship. Volvo for Charleston Battery. Toyota for San Antonio. Rocket League for San Diego. So what I'm saying is we're in a really good spot going into 2023 for this. I think they've lost some clubs, of course, but I think those losses are probably for the best as we're moving on from some of those MLS Club 2 type of teams. All right, so looking ahead here at managerial changes. So Charleston Battery, mutual separation with Connor Casey, Philadelphia Union legend. I'm just kidding. He's more known for when he was with the Rapids. Yes, so he has moved on, and in his place is Ben Perman, who comes over. He has coached Memphis 901. He left the same job to go to Charleston Battery. So then Ben Perman has left Memphis 901 to go to the Charleston Battery, and in replacing Ben Perman is Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass was the manager at Aberdeen. Wow, he was just the manager at Aberdeen. Before that, he was the manager of Atlanta United too. How did he get the job at Aberdeen? Okay, so he took over in March 2021 in Aberdeen and was sacked by Aberdeen in February 2022. And they were 9th in the Premiership at the time. And then he comes back over now to Memphis 901, where he has been mostly a manager of Atlanta United too. He was an interim manager for Atlanta United when they fired, I think, Gabriel Heinze or Frank de Boer, one of those. But he is a Scottish gentleman, so he's a former player as well. He used to play for the Carolina Railhawks, even clubs like Newcastle United and Aberdeen. So that's one of the reasons why he went there. But just an interesting bit there. We'll see how he does there. El Paso Locomotive let go of John Hutchinson. That was a mutual separation, it says here. And then Brian Claerhout is who is replacing him. And Brian Claerhout is from New Jersey. He was just managing a club in Swedish called GIF Sundsvall. That's pretty cool. He was an assistant, and then he went to manage there, and now he's jumping over to El Paso. Wow, that's really cool. It looks like he has managed quite a few clubs in Swedish football. He used to be also like a assistant at Temple University in Connecticut, stuff like that. So he will be taking over El Paso. Oakland Roots extended Noah Delgado was the interim manager. He is now the official manager of the club. That's good for them. San Diego Loyal SC, Landon Donovan, has left the manager post. He goes to the front office, and in comes Nate Miller, who comes in. He was an assistant coach from 2020 to 2022. Now he will be taking over the head coach. I didn't realize Landon Donovan moved to the front office. That's cool, though. Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Brendan Burke goes to the Houston Dynamo as an assistant coach, and in comes Stephen Hogan. Looks like he is a Irishman, but there's no article about him to look at. And then Las Vegas Lights FC, Enrique Duran leaves for Las Vegas FC 2. And in comes Isidro Sanchez, who is a Canadian, and he was an assistant at Puebla in 2019. And looks like he didn't have, and he used to be a manager of Las Vegas Lights in 2018 as well, but it looks like he had kind of a gap in the resume after Puebla until coming back to coach the Las Vegas Lights again. So those are your managerial changes. Some cool changes there. As we look into the regular season, that's a 34 balanced game schedule. So they will play their conference opponents twice, play one game each with the teams in the opposite conference, and the top 8 teams in each conference will make the playoffs. So the Eastern Conference is now down to 12 teams because they lost some of those. They lost 2 of the MLS clubs to MLS Next Pro, and then Western Conference lost 1 of those, so now they're down to 12 from 13. So 8 clubs into the playoffs. This is kind of bordering along that MLS lines of having 9 out of 15. We're having 8 out of 12, so we're only eliminating 4 clubs in each conference in the regular season, which is 8 clubs out of 24 that are going to miss the regular season. Here's the way that it goes. The tiebreaker, it looks like, is head-to-head on points, head-to-head goal differential, points per game within conference, total wins, total goal differential, total goals scored, points earned against top 4 conference finishers, disciplinary points, and then a coin toss or drawing of lots. Hopefully it won't come to that. But in your Eastern Conference, you have Birmingham Legion FC, Charleston Battery, Detroit City, Hartford Athletic, Indy 11, Loudoun United, Louisville, Memphis 901, Miami, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tampa Bay Rowdies, and FC Tulsa. Indy 11, by the way, is getting like this huge new stadium if they're able to get that going, which is exciting. Does that mean they're going to jump to MLS at some point? Or are they just going to have this like $1 billion stadium for USL? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. I think Loudoun United is no longer a DC United club. I forget when that happened, but they didn't make the playoffs last year. They finished 11th in the Eastern Conference. So we're going to see how that is for them going forward. 11 out of the Eastern Conference now would put them second to last. If Loudoun United hits that. Mostly what you want to see is some of these clubs from last year who finished well is to continue doing what they're doing. But for some of these teams that finished kind of near the bottom, let's look at some of their stats from last year. So we're looking at the Eastern Conference from last year. We have to minus out 2 of the MLS clubs, Atlanta United 2 and New York Red Bulls 2. Luckily for us, It's easy to remove them because they were the bottom two teams in the East. So when we remove those, we have Charleston Battery, who would now finish last. They gave up 77 goals, and they only scored 41. Loudoun gave up 74 and only scored 36. These clubs are losing a lot of games. And in fact, Loudoun and Charleston Battery each had more than 20 losses. If we remove Atlanta United 2 and New York Red Bulls 2, they're the only clubs in the East that have lost more than 20 games. Actually, the only teams in the East that have lost more than 19 games, because Hartford Athletic had 18 losses when they finished 10th. And when we're looking at that, Hartford Athletic had 57 goals against and 47 scored. So even then, there's almost like a 20-point gap from how bad Charleston Battery's defense was to how bad Athletic's defense was, and they're only 2 spots away in the table. Again, the playoff teams was Louisville City, Memphis, Tampa Bay, Birmingham, Pittsburgh, Miami, Detroit. The gap between Detroit and FC Tulsa was 8 points. No, is that right? No, 12. 12 points. My bad. I was counting it the reverse way. 12-point gap from Detroit City to Tulsa. And to be honest, I don't know if any of these clubs have done enough to even really make that a difference, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. I think Louisville is probably still the strongest team in the East. We'll see what happens when we look at a player like Joshua Winder, who was a huge player for Louisville last year. He's being sought after by some of these. He's a center back. He's being sought after from some of these Champions League clubs, not Championship. It looks like that he went on a training stint with Benfica. He participated in the U20 men's national team camp. And he's going to, it looks like, maybe be in the U20 World Cup this May. So he might even miss some time there. So it's something that is going to be interesting as we look ahead to see how it goes. He was one of the Young Male Player of the Year finalists. That defense for Louisville last year only gave up 28 goals, which was second best in the USL as a whole, with San Antonio only giving up 26. Now, San Antonio only scored 54 goals, while Louisville scored 65 and had a 37 goal differential, Louisville City. So, when we're looking at what was the strongest team in the league last year and how San Antonio ran away with it, Louisville was close. Now, when they went up against each other in the USL Championship, not as close, right? At 3-1, it was pretty much a 3-0 runaway game until that late consolation prize for Louisville. But really, Louisville had 22 wins, 6 losses, and 6 draws. San Antonio had 24 wins, 5 losses, 5 draws. So just take one of those losses, one of those draws, make them a win, and Louisville City would be equal to what San Antonio did. But like we said, Louisville kind of struggled more in the playoffs too, going to extra time twice in the build-up to the championship final. So I think some of that's going to depend on what exactly happens with Joshua Winder, where he's going to go. If he stays, I think he is a, huge. He's only 17. Probably a huge part of the that defense, and seeing how they can be able to replace him if he goes. They might be able to get some good money from him as well with him leaving. But I think when we're looking at the East, I think that team is still the strongest. I think Memphis is around there as well, but Memphis, they lost their manager, right? He decides, their manager decides to go to where did he go again? He went to Charleston Battery. So he's taking on an experiment, because Charleston Battery finished 12th, which in now this season would be bottom. So I guess he thought he's taken Memphis as far as he can. He's going to move on. So what's Memphis like under a new manager? Is it going to be coming in and just continuing with what works and moving on? Or is it going to be tougher? The team that scored the most goals in the whole league, by the way, finished third in the East. And that was the Tampa Bay Rowdies, like the most historic club in the USL. 73 goals, 33 that they gave up. That's a plus 40 goal differential. That's the best in the league. But how much did they miss out by? 10 points really on being the best team. But they were only 5 points short of the top of the East. The Tampa Bay Rowdies had 20 wins, 7 losses, 7 draws. And I'm curious to see how Tampa Bay goes because, we're talking about Don Garber in MLS is talking about maybe a Tampa Bay team being a potential expansion team. Is that moving the Rowdies to MLS? I would hope so. Not for like USL's loss, but I don't really want MLS competing with Tampa Bay Rowdies. They had the Tampa Bay Mutiny. Didn't work. Kind of like Miami Fusion. They've kind of stepped back. Now they've reintegrated with Miami, Inter Miami. And if we get Tampa Bay, I'd actually like it to be the Rowdies that make the jump because they are one of the most historic clubs in the whole MLS. I mean, in the whole soccer of America right now. We're looking at, I think it was a mistake that we didn't get a deal done for the Cosmos to either come to USL or become the NYCFC team and keep their name. The fact that they created a whole new club in New York called NYCFC, one of the most drab, boring names, when you had New York Cosmos, the team that Pele played for, this huge club, Beckenbauer, these players that played, the history that you could have had associated with your league. Now, I know some of that was ownership with the Cosmos not wanting to be a part of that. They wanted to keep going with the new NASL, which didn't really last. I just think there could have been a way to maybe make that work at some point. But we lost them. And now the Cosmos are pretty much dead. I don't know. I don't think they've played in a long time now. Now, this says that they're part of NISA. Are they in NISA right now? Well, here you go. 2019, their team played their first game since 2017. There's a whole 2-year gap there. And on 2019, they said that they're going to be joining NISA. But I don't see them as a... Okay. They're a club on hiatus. They played 1 year. 2020, it looks like. That's insane. And there's a few teams that have folded in NISA as well. Stumptown AC folded in 2021. Valley United folded in 2022. San Diego 1904 folded in 2021. I didn't realize that. I'm glad that teams like the Oakland Roots moved to the championship. Miami FC moved to the championship. Detroit City moved to the championship. These are clubs that are former NISA clubs that have moved on. So what's the Cosmos plan then? They could have been one of those teams, whatever. I'm not going to keep harping about that. But I think that there was a lost thing there, and I don't want the same thing to happen with the Rowdies. I don't want there to some point be like, man, we could have had that historic club. We were able to grab Orlando City from the USL. We almost grabbed Sac Republic from the USL for MLS. So I would love to hear Rowdy fans, by the way. If you're a Tampa Bay Rowdy fan, do you want to go to MLS or do you want to stay in USL? Because you're one of the best teams in USL. I just kind of wonder how that how that would go. Like, what's the thought process? Or would you rather a new club with the money of MLS come in and compete against your beloved Tampa Bay Rowdies? I feel like I would not want that if I was a Tampa Bay fan. So they finished third. They were close to, I mean, they were pretty close to getting up there as well. And I think, where did they reach? They reached like when we're looking at the playoffs, they reached the conference final and lost in extra time to Louisville City. So they could have easily gotten to that final as well. And maybe they could have put up a better fight against San Antonio. We don't know. They scored more goals. They score 8 more goals. So, when you're looking at a 3-0 game, you either need better defense or you're going to need to score some more goals. And Louisville was only able to grab 1 goal. Birmingham finished 4th, Pittsburgh Riverhounds 5th, Miami 6th, Detroit City FC 7th. And like I said, I don't know if I really see much of these changing. There's such a big gap. Now in the West, we're looking at the West. This is where some stuff can change. El Paso Locomotive missed out on maybe goal differential. They had 1 less goal differential than Oakland Roots. They had more wins. They had less draws and more losses, El Paso. And we're getting new managers for Las Vegas. We're getting new managers for, Las Vegas gets a new manager. El Paso gets a new manager. Can they get their club into, the promised land of the playoffs? Again, there's only going to be 4 teams in each conference that are going to miss out this year. So it is what it is. And this year, I really am curious about the East, because it seems like the East was really able to beat up on Atlanta United and New York Red Bulls too, because Atlanta United finished with 23 points and New York Red Bulls finished with 15. Those teams are gone. So who's the new one that they're going to beat up? Does the Battery with their new manager and stuff be able to try to get out of there? How about Loudoun United? Hartford Athletic, I think their crest is great, by the way. Really like Hartford Athletics, great. Crest. Indy 11 is trying to build a new stadium. What does that mean? Do they have resources to put in the team, or are they going to wait for this to be done building? There's some cool stuff there. With the Western Conference, it's like a huge gap from San Antonio down. San Diego, that was, Landon Donovan moving on from that to go to a front office role. How does the team adapt to that? He's making decisions, but will the new coach be able to keep up where San Diego is going? There's a lot of great storylines here in the championship, and there's a lot of great clubs. There's a lot of great crest. There's a lot of great kits, by the way. I saw the new San Diego kit. I really like it. But yeah, so let's go ahead, and I know we're kind of going long here. By the way, the Charlotte Independence, which is I guess League One team nowadays, is getting Dane Kelly, who is the highest goal scorer in USL Championship all time. And he's going back to the Charlotte Independence, who have moved from the championship down to League One. So I guess that's where he will be going there. He did play for MLS DC United 2018, only made 2 appearances though, but he's got like the most goals in USL Championship all time. Dane Kelly is going to League One with Charlotte. Okay, let's take a look at the schedule and what is coming up. Okay, so Saturday, March 11th, the first game of the season, 5 o'clock, Memphis 901 versus Loudoun United. 5 o'clock, Miami FC versus Tulsa. Then at 7:30, after those 2 games, you get Birmingham Legion versus Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's 2 playoff teams that are going to be battling it out. In fact, Birmingham Legion and Pittsburgh Riverhounds finished 1 point apart from each other last season. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Charleston Battery hosting the Phoenix Rising FC. Tampa Bay Rowdies hosting Indy 11. San Antonio FC, this is at 8:30 now, versus Oakland Roots. El Paso at 9:30 are hosting Sac Republic. 10 o'clock, Monterey Bay hosting Hartford Athletic. Orange County SC hosting Louisville City FC. And 10 o'clock, San Diego Loyal versus Detroit City FC. I think that one's a really interesting matchup because Detroit City was such a huge club at NISA. They come over and they make the playoffs in their first year in the championship. And they made it by 12 points above Tulsa, Detroit City. So how do they continue to grow from there? And then, like I said before, San Diego losing Donovan, new manager coming in, Donovan in the front office. How's that go? They're hosting. Just some fun stuff there. And then Sunday, March 12th, we have Rio Grande Valley FC versus Las Vegas Lights FC. Then there is a Wednesday game at 9 o'clock, El Paso versus Colorado Springs Switchback. And that finishes, it looks like, match day 1, because then match day 2 starts Friday, March 17th. So we'll look at that before we get to March 17th. But because we'll look at the games that took place on the 11th, the 12th, and the 15th, probably in our next episode. Or maybe we'll just look at the 11th and 12th and then kind of preview the rest from there, because I'm not sure when I'll record it. Anyway, I'm really excited for the USL Championship season. I like watching the USL. A lot of the problems come, though, from having, so little time and so many games you want to watch. When I'm watching MLS and then having to switch over to USL, or, do I watch USL highlights, or do I, watch a game on replay on ESPN Plus afterwards? It's a fine juggle that you have to do, but, there's history with the league. There's history with the clubs. I'm glad it's getting broadcast on ESPN. I'm glad Miami FC is getting on their local CBS station. Let's continue to grow these. I don't necessarily ever need Pro Rel to happen in Major League Soccer down to USL Championship and et cetera like that. I think it'd be interesting if they ever do the what's been rumored of relegation between USL Championship, USL League 1, USL League 2. I think that'd be interesting. But, I'm fine with the way that it is now too. I think there's enough. We have enough cities, enough fans of soccer in this country to have different niche markets that are, just NISA fans, USL fans, MLS fans. I like watching it all. That's my thing. I'm going to keep banging the drum. USL, you need more than 24 teams. Get to Baltimore. Why did we pull out from that study? Why did USL stop the study with Baltimore on the stadium? I wish we kind of knew more about that stuff, but there's a lot of teams in that lower west, not a lot of teams up the east. We have an Eastern Conference, but a lot of them are kind of central. What we would usually deem central. If you're talking about coastline, you're looking at Hartford, maybe Loudoun, Charleston, Miami. Tampa Bay is on the other coast of Florida. So getting a Baltimore team, kind of getting more of those teams that are in the East as well. I know MLS has kind of grabbed a lot of those, but we'll see. I'm just happy that USL is back. If you want to send us any sort of USL feedback, you can reach us at Stateside Show on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Email us statesideshow@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week breaking down the games for the weekend, looking ahead at the next round of games. And it's back. And then we'll kind of look ahead. I think USL League 1 is the following week. So we'll be trying to look ahead at some of those schedules as well. League 1 is kind of seems like they've lost some teams as well. They start on March 17th. That's right. Okay. So they start March 17th. over in USL League One. They only have, what is this, 12 clubs right now, and they're getting 2 expansion teams. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, so reach out to us for any more lower league soccer talk. This is not just USL Championship podcast. Closed Pyramid talks all of the lower league soccer. It's called the Closed Pyramid because there is no pro rel. So anything below MLS is something that we will talk about on this show. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy all the MLS and USL action this weekend, and we'll catch you next time.